the invocation, I'll recite a hymn to the dawn, to the Usha. So yesterday we had always the Gayatri and the Anushtup. Now we have the Trishtup meter. And the name of the Rishi is Satya Shrava. So here again the Shrava. Then it's obviously the hearing of the truth. It's not famous for the truth. Dyutatyamanam brihatim ritena ritavarim arunapsum vibhatim devim ushasam suar avahantim prati vibraso matibir jaranti esha janam darshata bodayanti Sugan patach krunvati yati agre Brihad ratha brihati vishvam inva Usha jyotir yachchati agre achnam Esha gobhir arunebhir yujana Asredanti rayim aprayu chakre Pato radanti suvitaya devi purushtuta vishvavara vibhati esha vieni bhavati dvibarha avishkrunvana tanuvam purastat ritasya pantam anueti sadhu Prajanati va nadisho minati. Esha shubhra natanuvo vidana. Urdve vasnati trishayeno astat. Apadvesho badamana tamansi. Usha divo duhita jyotishagat. Esha pratiji duhita divon run yo sheva bhadra nirinite apsa vi urnvati dashushe varyani punar jyotir yuvatif purvataka. And I read Aurobindo's translation. Dawn of the luminous journey, dawn queen of the truth, large with the truth, how wide is the gleam from her rosy limbs. Dawn divine who brings with her the heaven of light, her the seers adore with their thoughts. This is she who has the vision, and she awakens man and makes his path easy to travel, and walks in his front. How large is her chariot, how vast and all-pervading the goddess. How she brings light in the front of the days. This is she who yokes her cows of rosy light. Her journey does not fail, and such is the treasure she makes that it passes not away. She hews out our paths to happiness. Divine is she, far shining her glory. Many the hymns that rise to her. She brings with her every boon. Behold her in her biune energy of earth and heaven, how she comes into being in her whiteness and discloses her body in our front. She follows perfectly the paths of truth, as one who is wise and knows, and she hatches not in our regions. Lo, how brilliant is her body when she is found and known, how she stands on high as if bathing in light, that we may have vision. Driving away all enemies and all darknesses, dawn, the daughter of heaven, has come with the light. Lo, the daughter of heaven, like a woman full of happiness, moves to meet the gods, and her form travels ever nearer to them, unveiling all blessings for the giver of sacrifice. The goddess, young forever, has created the light once more, even as in the beginning.
When there's a reference that's made to something like the heaven, how do we understand that?
She brings with her the heaven of light, there he translates. It is Svarvahanti, and of course the Swar, Aurobindo says the Swar is for him really a world, like later also in the Puranas, the Loka, no? But in the Veda it is a higher world than it is in the later system. It's the highest world of truth, so to say. It's called because he says, it's very interesting, because in the Veda they will always talk about the earth, no, the Bur, or the Prithvi, and the Antariksha, which is the mid-world, and then there will be heaven, which is called Dyaus. And then they will talk, there are 3 heavens, even Dyaus, but then they talk of 3 higher heavens, or the back of heaven, and that they will call Trini Rojanani, 3 luminous regions, or Brihat Dyau, or Uruloka, the vast world, and that they will call Swar. So that Swar, it has even 3 luminous regions. So, and it's above the Dyau. Now he says, when you look to the Puranic system, maybe I should make a short drawing here. So the Puranic system, if you know it is like Swar, you see, here is Swar. Actually, I mixed up one, there is one in between, exactly, because that's the difference. This is Mahar, or Mahas. So Sri Aurobindo says, since in the later system Swara became at the place of heaven, it came down, the Rishi, it's very symbolic also, because in the Taittiriya Upanishad, they will say this is the Rishi Maha Chamasya found a 4th world, the Mahas. And look, he is called, I have never read any comment on it, why he is called Maha Chamasya? Because Maha Chamasya means the great bowl, also Maha, and Chamas is the bowl. And there is a hymn in the Rig Veda where they will say the Ribus, they are Sri Aurobindo calls them, it's another class of gods. They are actually earthly rishis who became divine. They ascended to the sun world. There is the symbol also, they slept for certain days in the home of the sun. And then they became immortal. And they are helping also in the evolution on the earth. And they create certain powers. But also they will say, the Twashtri, who is the original fashioner of forms, his bowl was had 3 parts. And they made Twashtri's bowl into 4. So according to Sri Aurobindo's interpretation, it would mean that this is the stage when the mind, the man, reached out into the higher worlds, so to say, for the first time. Because he says all these lokas, like we have 5 koshas, if you are aware of it. So usually our kosha ends here. These are not koshas for us, but we can develop koshas for these planes, he says. That will be in the future. So the human is not yet able, to embody them in himself. But so interesting, that thing. But then to show the Vedic counterparts, so this will be also, I'm writing it, mixing it up here, excuse me, because in the Veda it will be Prithvi. So in the Puranas it will be Bhur, no? It is the same, but so Bhur or Bhuh, according how you want to write it. So in the Veda this would be then Prithvi, right? This would be Antariksham. Literally, that which is seen in between, Antariksha. And it's called usually the midworld.
Does Prithvi literally means earth or it means something else?
Prithvi means usually the broad one, spread out one. The spread one, so to say. But there is another word also, the solid one. Sorry?
Is there any other Prithvi also, any other planet which would also...
Of course, you see that symbolism. They will usually call there 3 Earths. They also talk of the 7 Earths. So that means if you are able in your body to connect to all the planes, then they would speak of 7 Earths, so to say. So there's a vast symbolism. But of course, I'm putting my bag now. Is it okay? So here, this what is Swar, this would be in the Veda Dyaus, heaven. And this Mahas would be in the Veda actually Swar. And then here we know, in the Veda these are not defined. Sri Aurobindo says that what they call the Tridhatu. This word is also used in other ways as a triple thing, but it also stands for these 3 planes. And he says these are also called the 3 highest seats of Aditi in the Veda. And of course, that is, you need a yogi to understand all these things, because other people know they even wouldn't connect this to the planes. They take it very superficial, very casual. They don't go into it. But then, of course, so they will talk of 3 Earths, and they will talk of 3 midworlds, and they talk of 3 heavens. And then this here they call also Trini Rochanani. And the interesting thing is that was actually through my Sanskrit teacher and Veda friend with whom I worked here in Savitri Bhavan 10-15 years ago. We did a lot of things together. And so he really aligned these words with Sri Aurobindo's description. So even if there are 3 Earths, he would say it is the physical, vital, mental, but in the body relationship. And even Sri Aurobindo talks about this, that this higher world, so to say, they are reflected here. So this triplicity, they will say, we know your 777, Agni, we know your many 3 seats, So it's interesting. The basic thing is practically, Sri Aurobindo would say, Satchidananda. No, in the Puran, in the Vedantic, no, I could here put now, Satchidananda, Vijnana, Manas, Prana, and Anam. This division. So he would say, Satchidananda is when the self, the identity of the consciousness, and when it manifests itself in what he calls, that would be the supermind, it starts to activate itself, to express itself. And then this triplicity is, so to say, expressed on all the planes again. And so he speaks, for example, of the physical, vital, physical, mental also, not only physical, the same with the vital. You have the part of the vital which is related only to the physical, but there is a vital plane by itself. Sometimes I always think, look at the sportsmen and those people who take so much risk. Even you feel on the traffic, some guys, they rush around. They are so much in their vital being, they don't feel the danger that the physical might be just break apart. They will have an accident and are gone. This is the vital. You feel as if the vital knows it exists beyond the body. That's my interpretation. But so, and then there is, of course, also the mental influence. So that plane, so to say, has a connection from here and from there. And then these three heavens, there would be, he would say this would be the mind proper, but also the higher mind. And of course, even you could even say there is still a link to this vital world. You could also call it, because even Aurobindo makes such distinctions, he will say mental vital and vital mind. So that means one would relate up there and the other would relate the other way around. So from here you call it this way, from there you call it that way. And then these three shining words of Swar, no, that he would call, here the highest mind is, this would be like mind proper, and then it would be called, I'll write here, then it would be called higher mind. And even the higher one, Vladimir would have called the pure mind. Sometimes even illumined mind, Sri Aurobindo calls this. And that's where Sri Aurobindo differentiates so much, from the usual interpretation of these things. Because people don't go into detail. So these three rojanas, Sri Aurobindo talks about, after the pure mind, he talks of divine intuition. And then he talks of overmind. And then he talks overmind gnosis, which he says is the first manifestation of the supermind, and they are actually, so to say, mingling. That he says even in his own experience, he didn't see the difference at the beginning. And in the Veda, actually, he uses many times the word supermind, which later he would not call it supermind anymore. Then he might say overmind. So later he distinguished more and more these planes, because they interwave, nothing is really apart. But I noticed when you talk with the Shastris, even they see this Bhur Bhuva Swar, they don't think Swar is actually, for them Swar also means more, those who have the Veda connection. They don't mind, they don't see this as a contradiction also, that, in that system Swar is on the third place. But this is the vast world of truth, so to say. So as I say, it is identical with Mahas in a way also. So anyway, it's a very complex system. And in the Gayatri Mantra, they say Bhur Bhuva Swar, and then Tat Savitur. So then you could say either it means like this, that the Tat then relates to this, that Tat Savitur Bharga, the light is already the light of Mahas. Or also they know, so to say, even if they say Swar, that there are lower mental planes, Swar for them, so to say, this encompasses many layers. But I know in the Upanishads, you see, sometimes in the Kena, they will say, in the end, this bliss, this world of Svarga, Loka, they take it as the realization of the Brahman. In another place, they will say, this Swar, this heaven of paradise where they fall down when their punya was gone. So it is looked upon positive and negative in different contexts. There's a kind of ambivalence, which I feel probably because the experience was no more as differentiated. So the very difference in system is much more complex than the later one. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
So you mentioned about the
I mentioned
supermind there. So is the jhana of tapasya, he also calls it supramental?
No, the supramental for Sri Aurobindo would be what is here the Mahas and what is called Vijnana in the Upanishads. Because this is Satchidananda. So he will say, he writes in Life Divine about this very clearly. When he writes about it, he says, Satchidananda is, so to say, the self in identity, self-awareness, but as soon as if this self-awareness starts to move, so to say, objectify itself, it becomes the Vijnana, the supermind. So the supermind is nothing than Satchidananda, but so to say, in movement, in vibration, so to say. This is more like he would call it the static state. So when Satchidananda wants to express itself, it will become Vijnana. That will become the Savitri, the creator God. Then he pours out the delight of existence into manifestation. And that would be then the world of truth, you see, where the Satchidananda is revealed in the oneness without ignorance. But then there is that gap. All at once what happened, that deviation, so to say, starts, which Mother calls an accident. Sri Aurobindo says it is a self-limitation. So you can look at it in different ways. Then downwards, when the mind comes in, there's the division, the separation starts to dominate, and we become, so to say, more and more separated from that oneness and develop this separate ego identity. Avantika.
So, I read somewhere that Superman is Turiya. So what is
That's
that?
very difficult to, because you see there are so many systems, and then Turiya probably in the Upanishad would be the Satchidananda, the static.
Turiya actually means the force, right?
Yes, it means the force, yes, but this term is used in many ways. In the Veda also they speak of Turiya as this Mahas world, but it can also mean the 4 levels of speech. They use number 4 as the most physical form of speech. So it depends where you put it. But
So it's not Supermind in Vedas. Turiya is not Supermind.
Turiya, I really find it's difficult to say. Maybe in the Veda it could be. It could be that it is the supermind. He found the fourth world.
Beyond man, God is different. He made it
Yes.
like that.
It could be. But he was also very general. He never went into the text himself, so it depends. But maybe if they say he found the fourth Brahmana, in that way I would say it is supermind. Because in the Veda, the whole idea is this. Now the rishis want to rise to Swar, which is here. And as soon as if you enter the world of truth, the rivers start to flow down. Not before. So that 7 rivers, so to say, these plains, they are cut. There's a cut. This is called the vritra, the coverer. So the whole higher influence cannot penetrate into the lower life, so to say. And when you enter into the world of truth, these worlds become aligned, so to say. That is always the idea, that all the rivers are flow, because that there will be the 7 thoughts, and there will be the 7 ratnas, and so on, the 7 bliss. So this is the idea that this whole thing, you could almost say that the Satchidananda can work through the supermind, but that is like, you could say it's viewed through the overmental supermental world, because Sri Aurobindo says himself, even when this big supermind, which for us is so much high and much and far, comes down, this is not the last thing. He says then Satchidananda finally will also embody itself, so to say, on this principle, as a dynamic principle. So I'm a bit messy here.
States of being, right?
Yes, so they are, so that is also the thing Sri Aurobindo writes about, that no, because you could say this is like worlds, the lokas, but it is also states of consciousness which we can enter. It's like different vibrations. That's why in the Veda they will speak here of the lower ocean of night and the ocean of light, and the rivers are flowing in between. So they call the plains, these principles, the waters. So you understand that it's much more fluent, no? So the water itself shows you there is a transparency, so to say. If you make these categories later with our mind, Sri Aurobindo always says, don't cut these apart. They are not really apart. They are all influencing each other and penetrating each other. And in the Veda, they will say the 777 and the 7 times 7. So Sri Aurobindo says each of the principles multiplies in the other. So that is the idea. Each one is contained in the other world. So to say it again, as a world, as an objective world, look, we are living now in the physical plane. For us, it is a world. We can move in it. But in our own consciousness, we can also enter these worlds. Like in dream world, we go into some other plane, and even we have a sense of time and space. So every plane is also a loka in itself. And that seems to be not easy for us to imagine, no? But because this is the concrete world, and then everything else must be less than that. But when we are in that world, it is as concrete as if we would be in this dimension. So, but the problem is, no, in the Veda, this is called also the pen where we are. This is the pen, the cow pen. The pen means, curved, shut up. So because we have no memory, we are in a way excluded, locked away. And that's the idea that we have to break through. We have to come out of this lockage. Which are there the blockings. These are they are the asuras in the Veda, they are called Vala and the Vritra. The Vritra covers the flow of the waters And the Vala is, so to say, closing down the light which is actually behind us, which supports us, that we cannot communicate with it anymore, so to say. So,
related to this word, when Vedas off subject, why is the consciousness in different forms, and why is it that this has to be broken through? Why did it first come into this state?
yes, right. That is for that Aurobindo wrote the whole life divine. You understand? So to explain everything, right? But as I say, there is in the Veda, it's quite clear. In the beginning, there is one creation hymn. It says, out of tapas, out of the kindled tapas, Satya was born and Ritam. And out of that, night was born. And out of the night, the ocean was born. And out of the ocean, the year was born. And heaven and earth, and the sun and the moon, and Swar, the sun world also. Very interesting. And my friend and teacher Vladimir, he said, it's interesting why at the end only Swar is born. Because Swar is, so to say, this world of light where you can realize the divine in the creation without having to leave the world. That would be the idea. This actually relates to the individual immortality which we can achieve in the world without having, going out of it, because the Vedic rishis don't want that. They say you should find this Satchidananda here in the world, because there we are identical with it. So this is the divine adventure. And just very short, because there is this creation myth, usually also, and the Upanishads, they actually also elaborate on that, because the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says very clear, at the beginning was the Atman, and it was alone, and it wanted another, and it pulled out of himself the Purusha. And that's always interesting in the Upanishads. There is always self, 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 but when there is question of any manifestation, you need the Purusha. So I would say this would be self. This is the self in its identity. When it wants to know itself, it has to become the Purusha, or the Ishvara, or the supermind, so to say, and whatever comes out of that. That's the way how the divine would know himself, because here he is identity. It's a totally different perspective on life, because usually, in this absolute Advaita approach, we are getting so much conditioned in the mind, that we take all of this then as an object, as not us, as something which we have to get rid of, But this is a kind of simplification. When we are stuck here in the mental heaven and we are identified, or in the physical mind, we have to get rid of that mind. Yes, we have to go beyond. But that doesn't mean we'll just have to go there into kind of not knowing. So very interesting in the Veda, these four worlds, this including what is called the supermind. They are called the four rivers of honey and the four horns of the bull. Aurobindo writes about it. So for them, it's always very clear that Satchidananda wants to reveal itself, so to say. And that is, that's so interesting. That is so close with Aurobindo. There, the Veda and Aurobindo meet. And in between, there is a kind of half understanding of this and putting a little bit aside. It's not totally out, but it's no more really emphasized. And also because we are now all in the rational mind, and the teachings of the later time are rationalizing and simplifying that system, So for them, there will be like body, prana, mind, and then there will be Vijnana, would be intelligence, what is intelligence? For Aurobindo, this is much more complex. It's a big topic, but we will meet this in the Veda through the traveling of the sun, because when they will say the sun has traveled over the three midworlds, over the three heavens, and then he goes to his origin. So the Veda is full of that. That is also something which nobody has noted and comments upon it except Aurobindo in The Secret of the Veda. That's why he relates the Veda so much to his yoga. And in the Life Divine, the more he goes into what he calls the supermind, the only quotes which are remaining are from the Rig Veda. Before he quotes Gita and Upanishads, maybe once in a while he would take something, but finally what remains is quotes from the Rig Veda, as if afterwards this was no more seen or emphasized like that.
I think you said out of something that was came, then out of that ocean came.
Right,
Can you
out.
repeat it?
This is that creation hymn. I found this long ago, and even my teacher was very happy about it, but finally I found out even in Life Divine, in 2 chapters, Sri Aurobindo quotes part of it, of both of it, the first part and the second part. This is the second last hymn of the Rig Veda, for example, this short creation hymn. Ritam cha satyam chabhidat tapaso adya jayata. And this is like in the Purusha Sukta, they will always say adi ajayata, there was born, from that was born. So here they will say from the abhidat, abhidha, that means kindled. From the kindling of tapas, Ritam and Satyam were born. The truth and the law of the truth. So Sri Aurobindo always says Satya relates to Sat, that is the truth of existence which supports everything. He would say that is more like Surya, the revealing light behind everything, the vision. And Savitri, the sun god as the creator, the producer, it's relating to Ritam when the truth is getting dynamic. The truth is on the way, it's moving, it's revealing itself gradually in the creation. So this they call the law, also the law of the truth. So from that kindled heat of tapas, so consciousness force, so to say, creates everything. But it... Yes, because tapas in that highest sense is the heat, which Sri Aurobindo would say, the concentration of consciousness. So when Sat, so to say, who is aware in Chit, concentrates on itself, it will produce something, so to say, out of that heat. And this is probably even true in the material universe. What happened before that fire came into existence? What produced that Big Bang, or you ever want to call it? And it's also interesting because this night could even be this non-matter, antimatter. So there's interesting things also to speculate. The black holes and the antimatter, maybe they knew that also. Because if this is so important in this world, it might as well be seen on other planes, you see. So they always said...
This is Big Bang probably not the right.
Yes, that's maybe a simplification already. It's possible. But so here the point is, because Sri Aurobindo writes in Life Divine also about this creation, in the other creation hymn they will say, at the beginning there was neither being nor non-being, darkness was covered in darkness, there was no death, no immortality, but they don't say, they just start with the darkness usually. And in the Christian creation hymn also, they will say, even they say, God said, let there be light. But how did there come the darkness into existence? So even he asks this question in the Life Divine. And this hymn actually, it's only here which says so clearly, it says the truth created the night. So from the tapas, the Satyam was born. And from that, tato, which means from that, or hence, Ratri ajayata. Ratri was born. Tata samudro arnava. And from the night, the ocean of the moving, flooding ocean was born. And this then is obviously the ocean of night, because in the Veda they talk of the ocean of light and the ocean of night. Then samudrat arnavad adi, again from that wavy, that ocean. Samvatsara ajayata. Samvatsara is the rotation, it's the year, it's a name for the year, which in the ancient knowledge means the time. Time was born, yes, time. And with it probably already space, which is implied in a way. Then they will say, ahoratrani vidat vishvasya mishato vashi. Vidatat. So, and then the one who controls everything, vashi, who controls everything that blinks, which is then starting to exist, mishata. He also ordained, so to say, he separated day and night. Ahoradran. The days and the nights in plural. And then they will go on and say Dhata, then they speak of Dhatri as if that is the creator, the founder, the order. It's not the creator who brings it out, but who orders it afterwards. Dhatri, then Surya Chandramasau, the sun and the moon. Like before, he formed, like all the other things before, the Dhatri gave form to the sun and the moon. because these are our contact points for us. No? Divam cha pridivim cha antariksham atosva. And then he formed heaven and earth and the midworld and swar. And this was so significant. Swar he forms latest. As if, so to say, the creation has to be already there, that swar can come into existence. Because swar in a way relates to the creation, to the immortality. There is a place in the creation where we can, so to say, rest and become immortal and grow in the evolution without having to go out. So in the Veda, this is seen as a positive. Whereas afterwards, when you go to the Kataka Upanishad, I mean the Katha Upanishad, and Nachiketas goes to Yama, who is in charge of this world. He is the sun, actually. And he goes and dies and goes already beyond, and then he says, but what is of man when he is dead? But he is already dead. So he wants to say, but what is when he goes out of everything? Is he or is he not? Otherwise, why would he ask, is he or is he not? Because everybody knows at this time we are not dying with the body. He's not asking that because already he has gone to the death world. So he's wanted to know if what's happening, is there an entrance out of the whole manifestation? No. And then he says this is very difficult to question, and even the gods dispute about it. Is there something totally beyond? But then finally, he gives him all different experiences and of course temptations also, but then when he gives him the knowledge, he's quoting Rigs from the Rig Veda actually. As if then the Rig Veda is coming still again into play. So when you go deeper, nobody is really going into the depths of this. What is he then finally, what knowledge is he giving him? What is it? Is it, because in the Veda it says very clearly, you should not go there. It is, because here you have to find the consciousness. So that's the big difference. And when you look, for example, of course, Aurobindo writes about this also, we have to realize the self, but not in that sense, to negate everything. And if you look at the mother's life and experience, for her all these questions are irrelevant in a way. For her it's clear the world is the body of the God, and it is the place where the evolution will reveal the divine. And you could say, I always feel this is implied in the Vedic hymns and in ancient knowledge in general. You could say also in ancient Egypt and Greece, this knowledge was always a bit there. The world was the manifestation of the God, the fulfillment of the God. So this was a later kind of unique, transcended experiences which can exist and we can have, but then they were, so to say, overemphasized.
You mentioned Greek, even Aurobindo keeps quoting that Athens was also, there was some understanding of the divine in the Greek.
Yes. He does a lot, he mentions a lot in Secret of the Veda, he talks about the mysteries of Greece and ancient Egypt. And
does then the Greek mythology also connect back to the Vedas?
It does. So some clues you can really find of the Greek mythology. Aurobindo does that also. He makes relations there. Some things they would explain each other, but it's very complex. It's very complex, and the Western scholars also, they know all this. They are always a bit tending to oversimplify things. So it's a big thing. It's a big topic. But just then you imagine all what is still there, what is waiting for humanity. And when Aurobindo finishes his work, he says, this is just the beginning, and he has chosen the most simple hymns, because more we can't do at the moment, because the side references in every hymn are too much, And so he says this, and what else of ancient knowledge is hidden in the Veda still remains to be discovered. So even he didn't say he did everything, but he says his hypothesis was, is there that spiritual predecessor of the Upanishads, is that also there already? And he says, of course, we have made that very clear, that mystic knowledge of the Upanishads has its origin, so in the Veda. But there is more. And that's the difficulty for us also too. But just to get an idea what a kind of rich age it must have been.
And one last question. In terms of other things, also a concept of heaven and also a concept of hell.
Yes.
Is Prithvi the most animalist instinct, the worst form of?
No, never.
Turning into the worst
Never, because yes, that below does not exist for the rishis in that way, and the earth is divine. She is the Devi. The earth is never seen negative. She is seen as the Prakriti, but you could say almost as the divine Prakriti, as the divine mother, because that is also the complexity in the Veda. They will talk of heaven and earth in one way. Sri Aurobindo says sometimes as two sisters. Then they are the mental and physical consciousness, the two world halves with the prana in between. But in another way, they are called the divine father and mother. And there are hymns in the Rig Veda to heaven and earth, where within one hymn there is that shift, So they are seen first in the transcendence as the Shiva and Shakti, or Ishvara Shakti. Heaven and earth are Ishvara Shakti in the revealed in the light. And then, so to say, my teacher was always doing like this. And then from there, as the Kabul, they turn this way. And in Savitri, Sri Aurobindo also says, the Divine Mother, she became the body of our state. And she says that sacrifice of the Purusha is much more the sacrifice of the Divine Mother, because she made herself, Prakriti made herself the body of our state, where everything can reveal itself, gradually for the working of the evolution. But so meaning Prithvi she is called Devi Prithvi. And what I pointed out yesterday in my house wall, that hymn from the Atharva Veda says it so clearly also. She is the Patni of our past, of our future, and may she create that Uruloka. So the Uruloka in the Veda is very clear, it is Mahaswar. It is that world of truth which the earth is supposed to create. That's for us. And the earth itself at the first mantra is carried by the truth, Satyamritam again. So this is quite something strange, when we have, depends on what concepts we grow up. And in the later yoga tradition, for example, when I was in Rishikesh long ago, in Shivananda Ashram, they were reciting which I have brought as the next we could go through together. I talked enough now, which is they call it the Devi Sukta. This is the Vak hymn from the Rig Veda. So that has survived, and they will chant the Purusha Sukta. These two hymns, so to say, as whole hymns, have survived from the Rig Veda, from 1,000 hymns. So in the Tantric tradition, in the Devi worship, so they will also when they do Durga Saptasati, they chant the Devi Sukta. And the Purusha Sukta is quite common to be chanted, but I'm sure nobody really explores it in all details, because there are many strange things there which don't make really sense in the normal kind of yoga tradition approach. But I also feel the Indian mind does not feel that need to rationalize and explain everything. People, they don't have that gap, They still are seekers in the knowledge, and still they worship, so they don't have so much problem with that. Whereas in Europe, usually, those who are worshippers, they are seen as religious, and people are not really, they don't want that. Usually they want to come out of that because they see it too limited in the tradition in which they grew up. So they want to rather be just, think of self and enlightenment. So I think in India, all these things are still, but the integration of it has not consciously happened, so to say. And that actually Sri Aurobindo is doing. And also to come back to the Veda, in the Veda, this is there actually. This is not segregated. This would be, for example, each what we are talking can be a topic for. But it's also, if you are not used to this thought, I am specialized in one way and this thing is natural, it's very strenuous for you also, to follow. So I don't want to be too abstract. And everybody has a different way. Maybe some good guy would go to the board and make it all very rational and say, look. But I always feel I am not that way, and also that's other people are that way. Let them be that way. So, because I don't want to also rationalize it too much. Because then we want to take it in our mental pocket and think, that's it now, we know the reality. So in that way, I always prefer, rather let's call that inner knower and reveal us the light, like the dawn when she comes. So that they will say, when the dawn comes, the light comes, and the darkness is revealed in its light. So we see everything at its proper place. That's what Mother also says, actually. The problem is only that things are not at their place in this world.
Falsehood is when something is already so.
Yes, Yes, whatever it is, no, the inventions and the technology and the wealth and everything, it's just the thing, there's an imbalance, it's mixed up. The rhythm, the right order is not established, so to say.
I think being in such conversation, the possibility of all this opens for us. And then whatever happens, whatever is revealed is.
Yes, right.
We're not even open.
I agree, right? It's also good to question, right? Question, right?